What's going on, everybody? I'm Scott Oots, and today I bring in my good friend, Jerry Green. How's it going, buddy?
What is up? What is up, Scott? I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Besides the crazy technical things we were having with.
So let's tell everybody about that, because I just posted that on my Instagram because I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Somehow Jerry gets his screen literally upside down. I don't know what he's doing, what he's smoking over there, but his screen was literally upside down. So that's the first I've ever seen that on Zoom. So we're fixed. He's right side up.
First time ever happened to me either. It's like, wow. I guess I really wanted to come out and just talk about how the market's really going to turn upside down.
Good segue. I like that. Yeah. So Jerry and I originally met in a mastermind back in Boardroom. Boardroom's led by Kent Clothier, Justin Colby at the time. Sean Terry was in there as well. And that's how kind of both of us got our businesses really pushed to that next level. And so we've known each other for years from that. And Boardroom for me was killer, and I think we both moved on from that and went on to other masterminds and things like that. But always stayed in touch, which is kind of the power of that mastermind, right? Because make long-lasting friendships that keep going for years to come. So here we are, probably 3 years after our last Boardroom meeting, and both of us have seen some success. So Jerry, why don't you kind of tell everybody, the people that don't know you, kind of, what you've done in the past few years, what you've built, kind of a quick breakdown of your business.
Yeah. So, well, a lot of people know that too, that I've been around for a little while. I started in this business in 1994. So been doing it a couple years, 26 years now. And, had built it up, Scott, originally come out of the gate. And by the way, I'm from, I live currently in Germantown, Ohio, and that's where our office is at. It's kind of southwest of Dayton. And I used to live, when I first started in business, I lived in Springfield, Ohio, which is about 50 minutes from here. But basically I started in this business, built up a wholesale business, started getting to the fix and flip model, and really built that whole thing up, and got in some rentals, multifamily, even done some commercial to like General Dollar stores, Family Dollar stores, and really started building this whole thing up. But really what happened on this too, Scott, was interesting. Just kind of fast forward many years later, because I went through a lot of stuff in my life. And when I first started, from personal tragedy, from losing my first wife that was in the business with me, to cancer, when and I had a newborn baby I was taking care of, and so I it was just unbelievable when I was at a point where I had to restart everything all over again, and end up getting remarried to my wife Joyce now, which you know very well. And I just looked at that. I wanted to relaunch everything, and I went heavy into the rehabs again. This was going into the early 2000s. And what I built was really, I built something I ended up hating, because I had this huge team doing these renovation deals, and I had multiple project managers, and it was, everybody was riding the Jerry wave, and it just was no fun. And it got to the point where it was just, it really stressed all the time, and I was not enjoying myself. And then I, as you mentioned just a little bit ago, one of the things I realized was, I think a big thing for me, Scott, was I was not really running it as a businessman. Okay. I built this thing up, and I was doing it more of a chasing deals with a big team. And I was all really, if you look at it, I was in a, real estate renovation business, and So I decided, this shit's got to stop. So basically, kind of drew a line down the center of a piece of paper, and I realized that one side was real estate, another side was business. And I said, you know what? I know the real estate side in and out, but what I really got to do is focus on the business side. And I started really hammering down on that to put in the systems to make sure that I have the proper processes backed up with that too, then put in the proper people in the proper boxes, and then really built this, whole, really retooled the entire business over again. And then really got it to the point, Scott, where, fast forward to today, we have a setup where I have my COO, Ashley, who's been with me now about 7 years. She runs my company. And what a lot of people don't realize too is that she actually runs my company in Ohio from New Mexico. She actually lives in New Mexico and runs it virtually. And that's how really how tight we had to dial in the systems. Now, she used to live here, but her husband's in the military and got transferred. So we're like, okay, a lot of people say, well, you can't do that, can't make that happen. We're like, well, we can. So we just dialed in our systems even tighter on things. Yeah, and what we do now, it's, I've dialed in to the point where she runs the day-to-day. I'm pretty well out of that side of things. Only thing I'm involved with is meetings on a weekly basis with her and watching the daily numbers on things. So I'm involved in about 3 to 4 hours a week in the business, and then she runs it, and it works like a production line process. And that's what I really like to look at on that side of things. In fact, that's one thing I do is I teach a lot of people how to do this model and build and scale properly, because I've done it wrong so many times that I can tell them how to do it the right way, dude. So we're a big wholesale focus right now. I used to do a lot of rehabs, but our big focus is wholesaling. We do hold some property still, but our big thing is this, the production process. So I can stay out of the way and let Ashley run the organization and let me be in a position where I can work on other things. I spend a lot of time on my educational business and helping others grow and do the same thing. So that's kind of my quick snapshot of things. And we do a volume of deals. We're averaging in the neighborhood of anywhere from 15 to 20 deals a month. So pretty large volume on things, and it just boom, boom, boom. And, we've got a good team. We got several acquisitions people. We got transaction coordinating, dispo side of things. Obviously, my assistant you met just a few minutes ago when she was flipping me up the right way. But that's something we work very, very hard on, Scott. And a lot of time, a lot of years, a lot of screw ups, and a ton of money invested into all this.
So from what I get there, just for the people watching, right? And people always think it's so bad to make mistakes and it's so bad to change things. And, from what I get from you here, which I kind of already knew, is you have shifted your business so many times based on the direction you are going and having to shift it. I don't want to use the word mistake because you really didn't know it was a mistake, right? But a good business has to constantly just pivot with where you're going. And as you grow, you start finding that people that were part of the business aren't growing with you. People that, were part of it just aren't bought into that vision. And there's one thing that comes to mind with our relationship that I remember, and I know you know probably what I'm talking about here, is we're sitting in our mastermind, and I remember you being up front, you're talking, and in the end, the consensus was you needed to go back and basically change your entire staff. And like you even hit the nail on the head when you said, people were riding the Jerry train, right? People were taking advantage of you, and you were almost an ATM to people.
Yeah, 100%, Scott, 100%, dude.
You went back after that meeting, and I remember your face from that meeting, because you were I think you came to a realization that it needed to happen, but you also had to go back and let some people go that were really close to you, that had become family. So people that are watching this that are scaling their business right now, you had to let almost family go from your business, and that's a lot to overcome. So if there's somebody else watching that is in that same boat where they're starting to realize their employees not growing, is there any advice you can give those people as far as when you came to that realization, you had a plane ride home to think about it, and I know that's probably all you thought about, and then you had to go into the office and you had to make that decision and actually do this. What can you tell people about, how that felt and how you felt afterwards?
I'll tell you, Scott, just a couple things on that so people understand how tough that was. Number one lady was with me for 12 years. Okay. And then another gentleman was with me for 15 years and also was the best man in my wedding when I got remarried.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was not easy at all, dude. In fact, I started crying during that whole time. But here's what I realized on things, Scott, though, was I first of all, the way that this became really clear on things was I really started putting in the correct accountability, and I started really measuring the numbers like I should. Okay. And then when I put that accountability in place, what happened, man, was all the smoke and mirrors went away. And then all of a sudden this stuff started appearing. And what I realized was some of the people that I had on my team for years and years were not able to actually report on the numbers that they should. And I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. And it was a real awakening for me. So that's first thing I want to tell people is, make sure that you have the proper tracking, the proper accountability in place. Because guys, if you don't, stuff can fly by so fast. And next thing you know, you don't even know this stuff is happening. You're not aware of it. See, it's so easy for us to get caught up into the business itself. And it's almost like, Scott almost referred to, this is kind of like muscle memory almost. Like if you're working in a factory or something like that and you're working on an assembly line, well, people do the same thing. They get this muscle memory going. Well, you can do the same thing with your mind. And then what happens is you're not aware, you're not looking at the bigger picture of things, dude. You're just so caught up into that's what you do every day. And then you become blind to everything is going on around you. So that was a big thing for me. And I hope people take a little bit from this and think about that. Then the other couple big things I learned from this to kind of really hit on your point there was, first of all, do not ever justify keeping somebody. Do not ever justify, because that's something that I have found myself doing. And a lot of my students I work with, they like to justify because they say, well, I don't really have anybody else. I should, you know how it goes. You justify keeping them on. So justifying is very, very dangerous on that side of things, extremely dangerous. And it can be a major blow to your business, because when you start justifying, then what you're doing is you're taking the power away from you being a leader in your business, and you're giving it to somebody else on your team and let them control your business. So justifying is extremely dangerous on that side of things. And that's something that I think it's extremely important for people to understand. And another thing too is, once you realize somebody is not an A player on your team, and you do everything, and you've done everything you can as a leader, okay, you cannot force them to be an A player. They've already made that decision in life. So that right there is another thing, is don't go in thinking you're going to change somebody that way, and don't try to justify, man. And those are two big lessons that I learned on that side of things. And once I learned those, Scott, it was a light bulb moment for me, and it really started changing things, dude. So
That's, I mean, honestly, that right there is a key. So I'm going to kind of reiterate what Jerry's saying here is because we've all done it. We all have. I have 4 job openings right now, and you would think with COVID and everyone that's laid off that I would be getting hundreds of applications a day right now. And we're talking jobs that'll pay 6 figures in most cases, and I'm not getting applicants. So what a lot of business owners do is they realize how long it takes to actually hire someone and how much time it takes to train the person. And you figure 50% of the time that person doesn't work out. So when you look at that, it is easier to justify keeping somebody on that is doing 50% of what you want them to do, because it's harder to go out and find someone else, train them, build the relationship, see if they're gonna work, continuously training. It's a lot. If you look at just the systems you have to train somebody on to start, acquisitions, running comps, how to talk to sellers, all this kind of stuff, you're not talking about 2 hours and they're off on their own. You're talking about potentially hundreds of hours training this person. And if you put all that time into someone and you realize, if I let person A go to hire person B, I have to put all this time into person B. You know what? Person A right now, I mean, they're doing 50% of what I need them to do. They're still bringing in money. I'm just going to leave them there. They'll get better. We've all done it. We've all done it. But that is a weakness. It is a true weakness, because us as leaders in our business, our job to make the business survive comes to bottom line. It comes to those KPIs, so key performance indicators that we're tracking. And if someone is not meeting that and they're not going to meet that, meaning you've given them every single ability you can to help them grow, and they're just not grasping it, or they just don't want to grasp it. You know, for me, I judge it, and I don't know how you do this side, but I judge a lot of it as, you know, acquisitions team, if they clock in at 9 and out at 5, they're not gonna work for me. I mean, there's no way that's gonna work, because someone that is potentially paid 150 grand a year has to answer a phone call at 7 o'clock, has to answer a phone call at 6 a.m. Yeah, you can't work 9 to 5 in a position like that, because I'm gonna ask you a trick question, Jerry. What are the standard hours most people work? Bankers, everything like that. What are their standard hours?
Their standard hours on the banker's side of things is those daily 9 to 5 or something like that on that side of things. But what's interesting, Scott, you nailed the head, hit the nail right on the head there. We always tell people that when we bring in like acquisitions people, it's like you got to understand that you could be not saying you have to be on there all the time, but the thing is, if you don't take some ownership of that, you can miss one call on an evening or a Saturday, and that could be $10,000-$12,000 in commissions to you.
That's it. So it comes down to, so if someone's working 9 to 5 on the banker side, and that happens to be your customer, and the acquisitions person's working 9 to 5 here, the banker gets off work. Yes, they want to sell their house, but they call you at 5:30. This guy's already clocked out. How do you close a deal, right? And I've heard a lot of acquisitions people say, oh, if they really want to sell, they'll make time. No. Flip that shit around. If you really want to acquire the deal, you will make time, because the way acquisitions works is you have to be available when your customer is available, not the other way around. So I think so many people, I think acquisitions is generally the highest turnover, right? Because someone has to continuously perform. And I mean, my team out here, I give my acquisitions people and my team unlimited vacation. I don't put a number on their vacation. Take vacation if you want it, but here's the caveat. If you go on vacation, your work phone stays here, which means you're on vacation. So you don't get new leads while you're gone, because if you're on vacation, you need to be turned off of work. So here's the thing. They don't take a lot of vacation because they don't want to lose the leads, because that hurts them 30 days later, right? But for the person that takes their phone in the office, if it's already a deal they're working on, we help them and we don't take their commission. We'll close it for them. But new leads are paused because you of all people know when you go on vacation, if you and Joyce leave, you go on vacation, you don't want to be taking phone calls the whole time. You want to sit on that beach. You want to have an extra drink or 2 or 3 or 4, and you want to just hang out, right? But you don't want to be answering phone calls the whole time you're there. You got to separate yourself because that resets you. And that's why, I offer the vacation, and some of them take it, some of them don't, but I encourage vacations, right? Because you got to reset yourself. Now, I had one guy that he took more vacation than he was in the office. He didn't care, and he's no longer with me. So when you look at team members, they have to buy into your vision, but you have to be very clear on your vision with those team members. You have to let them know what your expectations are. So,
Jerry,
that's a good point, Scott. That I just want to share on that. The vision side of things is something we stress on all the time, where we're bringing that up really weekly with the team, what the vision is on things, and sometimes multiple times a week what that vision is, because people, and especially, and you know this too, man, is that so many people we work with are not used to our type of thinking. They don't understand the way our minds work. They don't understand. They don't read what we read. They don't watch videos of what we watch. They don't do these things. And what I found, man, was that one on that, it's our job as leaders to make sure we share that with them. But at the same time, they have a responsibility to feed on this and then run with that. And if they do, it makes a big difference on things. But it's so what happens on that is people, once they start understanding that, they start looking at things different. And then you find people that that they really take ownership of their position and their box on things, versus that, like you said, that you check out at 5 and go home, just come back in at 9. That, I always tell my team, I said, doing that versus being in a position where you take full ownership is the difference between somebody making $50,000 a year in sales or $250,000.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the difference. So
I don't think I've ever heard of a salesman that does the bare minimum that keeps his job long term. It just doesn't happen, right? Sales is one of those like dog eat dog industries. You definitely have to be pushing hard every single day. And I guess one thing to kind of say is everyone is entitled to a bad day, right? Things happen. There's deaths in families. There's girlfriend and boyfriend breakups. There's all these things that happen that affect the mind, right? And we are so close to my team that when something happens, we know it. We know it just from the conversations on the phone, and we know something's going on. And everyone's entitled to a bad day. But one thing we do very well is we support our team. When something's going wrong, we'll take that person to lunch and just say, hey, we're not here as bosses right now. We're here as friends. What's going on, right? Something's obviously eating away at you today. What is it? And a lot of times we'll spend an hour and a half at lunch. We'll even have a drink and just sit and just have a conversation. And you know what? Like, my team feels comfortable sharing that with me. And I think that's so good because, number one, like, they have to feel comfortable coming to us on things, but it also answers a lot of questions for us because it shows us, hey, he's not closing these contracts because he's distracted, right? And a lot of bosses that don't care, they're gonna be like, hey, you're distracted today, just go home, right? It doesn't work like that. You gotta support your team every day. And I've seen you post, your team going out to dinner, doing things like that. And that's fantastic. We do a lot of the same type of things. So, besides focusing on KPIs, because that is the business side, that is us saying, do your job or you're gone. Now, let's talk real quick about things you do for your team, small or big, that shows your team that they're valued. What are some of those things you do?
We do, for one of the big things is I try to set it up where I do have lunches with them. or send them out, have them go to lunch. And just for next week, Ashley's flying in. I'm doing an event here in my office actually on Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesday, we're taking the team out and their spouses and everybody out for a nice dinner. So we do a lot of that. Some other cool things that we do on things, Scott, too, is, I'm really big about just simple things like gift cards, simple little things like that. I think a lot of times people get hung up where they think everybody just wants some extra money. And what I've found is a lot of times it's not just the money side of things. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they're valuing other things. Like you mentioned, that lunch, sitting down and listening on things. I do a lot of videos to the team. Okay. So I'm sending them a lot of videos, either as a group, individually, encouraging them in different areas. So I think those mean a lot. And when people are having a real tough time, we really try to step up. So we had a lady in my office, been with me now about 3 years, Courtney, and she's amazing. She's a single mother with 3 kids. And it's been a little over a year ago now. She was in a position where she was, her transportation was pretty well going to the kapoots. Okay. It was not working too well. And, I really thought about it, and I went out and bought her a new car. And that was a big, and it was a major, major impact on her life. Mm-hmm. And, I could have gave her more money, but here's the thing, it just showing that I would do that and taking care of that. It just completely changed things for her in regards to transporting her kids around, and just all these little things that, a lot of times we don't, we get very blessed a lot of times in our own lives on things. And we have a lot of things that, that sometimes we don't realize how, much that would mean to somebody else. Not even, for instance, not saying we have to go out and get someone a Tesla, okay, on things, but, something simple, even like I got a new SUV, that was huge for her. Okay. Or another thing we like to do is, with the team is this recognition in regards to, if they do something really well, we will recognize them in front of the whole team. And just that recognition alone is a big component. But I'm really big about trying to help them in any way that I can, Scott. And that to me is one of the biggest things I really enjoy doing, is either through a conversation, through another thing we do a lot is I'll give books to people, and simple books, and say, look guys, just read this, because I guarantee if you read this, it will start to change your thinking. And that's something that I've had so many people tell me over the years here, is like, wow, I've never had anybody do this where they try to encourage me to become better. It's more of the dictatorship, Mm-hmm. And so that's what I really try to do, is encourage people to become, not only grow in their position, but grow as a person. So, and I think that's a big component, man.
That's really important. I actually just had Cody sneak out because I want to show you something that we started doing for our team on a monthly basis that I actually think you should implement in your office as well, because it's something that kind of gives the team a voice a little bit. So there's 2 things we do. Every month we do our top sales trophy. So this one right here is the person that got the acquisitions person that got the most contracts for the previous month. And this thing is like $20 on Amazon. And then they print the nameplate out, and we give these to them. So we give new ones every month, and I put a shelf above each of their desks. So they can sit and pile these things up to prove who's got more trophies. And this is something we've done for about 2 years. But one that we started more recently is this one, which is our Rockstar Trophy. So this one right here is actually the first meeting of the month. The team submits a piece of paper voting for somebody in the office that went above and beyond the previous month. And this right here, this trophy is my team's voice, not my voice. Because you and I have to separate from the business sometimes. We're not seeing everything that happens when we're here, right? So I wanted the team who's in the weeds to vote for who gets this trophy every single month. And it just shows, hey, you went above and beyond. So this is Emily's. So Emily went above and beyond. This was her January 2020 trophy. But it's a little bit of a recognition from the team itself, because I felt like I can go say, hey, you're doing a good job, which I'll always do. But to have your team actually recognize you, this has become a fun thing. Like, everyone folds up their votes, and then every month we go into the conference room on the whiteboard and we keep tallies as everyone's getting their votes read. Kind of create it like a competition, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, these little things on Amazon for being $20 each a month, you should see their shelves out here, man. Their shelves are like, some of the shelves are leaning because they have so many trophies on them. But, you know, I'll hear them say, oh, to the new guys, oh, it's so cute you got your first trophy. Wait till you get to the 20 I've got, type of thing. And it's just so cool to see the team have a voice. And yeah, something to consider as you and your team are talking, because, you know, having them be able to nominate people does mean a lot to them, more than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, so I can see that. That's a great idea, Scott. Appreciate that, man.
So, all right. So let's talk about your business again real quick. So your COO is virtual. My COO is in the office. So you mentioned something before. You said that people mentioned to you that, oh, that can't be done, right? That virtual can't be done. It can't happen. Now, I know you and I are very similar in this way, that if somebody tells me I can't do it, I'm going to do it just because they said I can't do it, to prove them wrong. So why didn't you listen to the people that were saying virtual wouldn't work? Why did you decide to keep that person and allow that person to work remote?
Well, I think a big thing on that, Scott, was the honesty that Ashley and I have with each other. That, to me, that's the top of the list. The honesty and the trust. So that had to be there, because if that wasn't there, none of this would happen like it is right now. So that was the key component, I think, to all of this, is we had to have the honesty and the trust to be able to do that. Then we really looked at it and realized that it was really nothing more than, you know, if we know that the right person's in the seat, then it's really nothing more than working the processes tied into a proper operating system. And we knew that if we had that, everything could fall in place. We just had to tighten the processes overall to make a stronger operating system, and make sure that, you know, the proper KPIs and the communication was a big component. Like, she gets on with the team every single morning, does a pulse meeting with them. Okay, launches the day every day doing a pulse meeting. Now, I'm not on those any longer. I used to be, but she fired me from those. So, which is good. So, because I was more a pain in the ass than I was helping on those. So she's, you know, but this allows her. Some of the key components on that was, you know, we realized that we have to have that interaction daily with the team. So she has that, you know, interaction with them, video wise and, you know, verbal wise, and then also looking at the metrics, because the team is reporting and their daily KPI tracking system on a daily basis. So she's looking at that and then monitoring that side of things. So, you know, once we realized that all that could be put in place, then what everybody else was saying really didn't matter anymore at all, because we knew that it could be done. In fact, we even done it on a test run where we said, okay, let's just pretend you're already gone and just stay home. And so we've done that for several weeks, and it worked. So what does it matter if you're 10 miles away or a couple thousand miles away. It doesn't really matter. So, and that's really what it come down to, Scott, was that. And once we had that in place, and over the time, we've obviously, as you know, I mean, it's constantly evolving, getting better, getting tighter, especially as we hired more people. We just hired 3 more people here too recently. And it's just, a constant evolving process. Another big thing too that we've really, this is something that maybe some of the viewers can jot down, but we apply something we call a 4-person fire team principle. So 4-person fire team principle. And that means that one person can never manage more than 4 people. And this comes directly from working, it comes directly from the military, like the Marines. And if you're in that position where the Marines are, they're attacking something like that, with this 4-man fire team principle and things, it's easy to be able to just bring somebody else in, put them right into that on that team, and to be able to manage that. So what we look at is we work off that side of things. So one person never manages more than 4 people at one time, and sticking to that has been a big and it's had a huge impact on things. So it's a 4-man fire team principle. And I think that if you guys would, anybody that has a team or want to build a team, work off that principle, it can have a huge, huge impact on the growth of your business. And I got this working with, some people and a mentor that has over 40 some companies. And he only reports to 4 people, and they deal with everything else when it comes to all those 40 some companies.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, because it does get to be a lot. Managing more than that, if you're truly spending the time training the people and truly spending the time trying to help them grow, I agree with you. I think that's probably a good level to sit it at. My COO in my business pretty much manages everybody underneath me, right? And my COO has done the same thing yours did to you, where, hey, you're not coming to these meetings anymore. You're causing more problems than you're worth at this point. And we had to sit down and have that come to Jesus meeting. And I don't even go to my team meetings weekly anymore. I get the notes from him, and if there's something that needs to be escalated to me, it will be, but he'll let me know. And it's actually way better not going to the meetings. At first I felt,
Scott, dude, it's so much better.
It's a weird feeling at first, because you're proud that your team is doing all this without you, but at a certain point you're like, man, they don't need me anymore. And it's so weird to have that feeling. It's a hey, I'm blessed because of that, but it's also a, why don't they need me anymore? So
exactly. It was almost like we feel like we're put out.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, like they kicked me out the door and said, "Hey, don't come back." And I'm just like, "Okay, wait, this is my business, dude." But it's really cool to see that happen, because it just shows that you've got the right people in the right seats to be able to do that.
And that's good.
So we're running out of time here. I don't want to go too long. So you've got some cool stuff going on. I know you bring people out to your office and you do that. Do you want to kind of, take a second and tell everybody kind of what it is you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. A couple of things that we do. One is actually I have an event going on here in my office in Ohio, actually next Monday, coming up Monday and Tuesday. And then I'll be doing another one here in the first quarter. And we'll be announcing dates on that shortly. But what we do is we basically have it set up where people are actually able to come into our office, and we do it in a small group. So typically no more than about 15 people. They come in, and what we do is we actually go through the whole operations of our business. Okay. And we go through each department. So they actually get the experience firsthand on that side of things. And it's pretty amazing what happens on that, because they get this not just talk about it, but actually see it and experience it. But not only do they get the experience through myself and Ashley, they also get to interact with the rest of the team. So they get to deal with acquisitions and dispositions and transaction coordinating, and they work with the different departments. So it's a pretty unique experience, and we really opened it up. And day 2, what we do is we actually go through and design a game plan for their business to follow and start into the next quarter, the next year. And so we actually lay that out for them. And that's why we do it in a small group like this. It's very impactful and some major results. So it's a pretty cool experience for people and makes a major impact on their business. So and what I'll do on that, Scott, too, is that's if you guys are interested in learning more about it, you can go to my website, thejerrygreen.com, or just you can hit me up on Facebook. My personal page is pretty full, I think, on things, but you can go to my business page, Jerry Green REI, on Facebook, and just like my page there, or go to Instagram, the Jerry Green. It's pretty simple on that, and just follow me there. I push out a lot of content, just like you do, brother, on things, and so there's a lot there. So that's one of my real unique abilities that I do. Another thing that I do is I do training for people that really want to build this into the virtual model when it comes to acquisitions. So we do a virtual acquisitions training as well. So we show people how we do everything virtual, because 90% of our deals are done virtually over the phone with clients. And so we do that on a regular basis every single day. And we've really created a really good system on that side of things. So those are the 2 big things I really focus on to help people out on, and to build and create a more virtual acquisitions process, and then also letting them be able to come in and be able to work with me and learn how to build and scale their business.
Okay. I'll have Cody go ahead and throw those links on here as well, so everyone can kind of find you. I think that's good. I mean, guys, anyone watching this, I mean, Jerry's a real deal. You look at a lot of people out there, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, there's a lot of people out there that when COVID hit, their businesses went down. And at that time, they turned to coaching, because that's where they can make money. And it's sad. It is. I understand they're trying to hold on and trying to make money, but it's scary when you got someone that their business didn't survive something like that, and they're out trying to coach. Now, you look at people whose businesses did thrive through that time, and Jerry's one of them. And you've got to look at this and say, who is it that you guys would like to take lessons from? Do you want to take lessons from someone that's out there without the background that you need, right? Or do you want to go with someone like Jerry that actually is doing the business? I mean, he's got a COO in his business. He's stepped out of his business a lot of this way. And while he still has a pulse on what's going on, he's able to separate himself. So I highly recommend checking it out, see what's going on there. So Jerry, I appreciate you joining us today. I think that you've offered a lot of nuggets out there, and I think that, our podcast here is almost more towards the scaling side, right? I mean, because a lot of things we talked about are the hiring and when to just cut the cord on someone. And I think a lot of this stuff is things that people don't talk about a lot. They talk a lot about how to get your first deal and how to get your second one and what marketing to do. And I think that stuff's important, but I don't think there's enough conversations around things like this and how to actually get the right people and make sure that everyone's bought into your vision. So Jerry, I appreciate you, brother, and appreciate you being here. And you guys, make sure you guys go check out Jerry. And I appreciate it, guys. I am Scott Oots. This is Jerry Green. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
All right. Thank you, Scott.